Hello, good morning, and welcome to another exciting time. We talk about business. It is Business 360, and my name is Vladimir Kim. Breaking this morning, Japan's export fell for the first time in 6 months. Import tumbles. Exports in Japan dropped 1.7% year on year to a 4 month low in May 2025, reversing a 2% gain in April and marking the first decline since last September rather, amid the impact of sweeping US tariffs. While imports shrunk 7.7% to a 3 month low, pointing to the steepest decrease since January 2024 and outpacing the anticipated 6.7% fall. Still on the foreign scene, a Trump to extend US TikTok ban deadline, White House says. TikTok will live on for at least another 3 months in the United States as President Donald Trump is poised to extend a sell or ban deadline for the third time since taking office this year, according to White House Press Secretary Karen Leavitt on Tuesday. The popular video sharing app was supposed to be banned in the US after its Chinese owner ByteDance refused to sell it to a US buyer by January deadline. A multiple observation indicates that Levitt said the 90-day extension would ensure this deal is closed so that the American people can continue to use TikTok with the assurance that their data is safe and secure. Still in the United States of America, the United States Senate has passed a bill to create a regulatory framework for the US dollar pegged cryptocurrency tokens, known as stablecoins, in a watershed moment for the digital asset industry. The bill, dubbed the Genius Act, received bipartisan support on Tuesday, with several Democrats joining most Republicans to back the proposed federal rules. It passed 6 to 8:30. The House of Representatives, which is controlled by Republicans, need to pass its version of the bill before it heads to President Donald Trump's desk for approval. Stablecoins, a type of cryptocurrency designed to maintain a constant value, usually a 1:1 dollar peg, are commonly used by crypto traders to move funds between tokens. The use has grown rapidly in recent years, and proponents say that they could be used to send payments instantly. If signed into the law, the stable bill or stablecoin bill would require tokens to be backed by liquid assets such as US dollars and short-term treasury bills, and for issuers to publicly disclose the composition of their reserves on a monthly basis. The crypto industry has long pushed for lawmakers to pass legislation creating rules for digital assets, arguing that a clear framework could enable stablecoins to become more widely used. The sector spent more than $119 million backing pro crypto congressional candidates in last year's election and had tried to paint the issue as bipartisan. In Africa, Ghana has been ranked 10th in Africa for the highest fuel prices as of June 2025, even though local prices have declined for the seventh time this year. This development comes despite the Ghanaian cedi appreciating by a remarkable 24% since January 2025. According to data from globalpetrolprices.com, a fuel in Ghana currently sells at $1.39 per litre, placing the country 60th globally on fuel price index. Fuel prices in Ghana have decreased for the seventh time this year, aided by government policy measures. The Central African Republic remains the most expensive country in Africa for fuel, with prices recorded at $1.83 per litre, followed closely as Senegal at $1.72 per litre, Zimbabwe at $1.54, Cote d'Ivoire $1.49, and Burkina Faso at $1.48, taking second to fifth places respectively. Cameroon $1.46, Malawi $1.46, similarly Morocco $1.44, and Uganda $1.40. They fill the seat to ninth spot on the continental ranking, just ahead of Ghana. Still in Africa, Emalian Court has ordered Barrick Gold's Lolo Kunkoto Gold Mining Complex to be placed under provisional administration for 6 months as tension escalates between the Canadian mining giant and Mali's military-led government over alleged unpaid taxes. The tensions between Barrick Gold and Mali's government stem from allegations of unpaid taxes and inequitable contracts. Amharic has requested international arbitration to resolve disputes while Mali increases measures such as employee detention. On Monday, George Issa Diallo instructed that Zoumana Makachi, a chartered accountant and former Malian Minister of Health, be appointed as a provisional administrator within 15 days. This move effectively shifts operational control of one of Africa's most valuable mining assets to an external authority. In December, tension peaked with the issuance of an arrest warrant for Barrick CEO Mark Bristow and the company's offer of $370 million settlement to the government. Still in Mali. Mali has begun building a new gold refinery backed by Russia, a move its military-led government says will help the country gain greater control over its natural resources. The newly formed refinery will be 62% owned by Malian government, but Russian firm Yadran holding the remaining 38% stake. This initiative aligns with regional efforts to mandate domestic processing of gold for economic benefits. In Nigeria, the Central Bank of Nigeria's sweeping directive suspending dividend payment, deferring management bonuses, and halting offshore investment has jolted investor confidence in Nigeria's banking sector, with sharp reactions trailing the regulator's move across the Nigerian exchange and among industry watchers. The new policy, issued on June 13, 2025, is designed to compel banks to boost provision and strengthen capital buffers by addressing the burden of regulatory forbearance and ensuring full compliance with single obligor limits. The CBN's recent circular outlined measures to strengthen the banking sector's capital base amid ongoing regulatory reviews. It directed banks currently benefiting from forbearance, especially on credit exposure and single obligor limits, the dividend payments to shareholders, defer bonuses to directors and senior management staff, and halt investment in foreign subsidiaries or new offshore ventures. Meanwhile, Nigeria ranks third as African startups hit $1 billion. Nigerian startups have emerged as the third highest recipients of funding on the African continent in the first 5 months of 2025. This was disclosed in the latest Africa, The Big Deal, a platform that tracks funding to African startups. At the end of May, African startups had raised over $1 billion, which compares favorably to 2024, at $750 million over the same period. For instance, also encouraging is the fact that startups in Africa have raised $2.5 billion over the past 12 months, and that is June 2024 to May 2025, the highest total for 12 months since early last year. A geographical spread revealed that Egyptian startups came top with $332 million plus dollars, 31% increase, followed by South Africa at $273 million plus dollars, 26% in that regard, then Nigeria $162 million plus dollars, 15%, and Kenya $132 million plus dollars, 12%. From a sectoral point of view, fintech startups attracted almost half of the funding at $484 million plus dollars, 46%, followed by health tech ventures, $149 million percent, boosted by HereX's $100 million in April, and energy startups, $106 million plus dollars, 10%. Union ITU has selected Bosun Tijani, Nigeria's Minister of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, as Vice Chair of the ITU Council 2025. Tijani announced his election in a statement on Tuesday. The ITU is a United Nations specialized agency for information and communication technologies (ICTs). It was established to promote international cooperation in telecommunications and strives to connect all people worldwide. The minister's election is the first time in 50 years that Nigeria will be elected into a leadership position in ITU Council. And now to the oil sector. The world's leading oil corporation, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries OPEC, said Nigeria's crude oil output remained the topmost in Africa, with 1.544 million barrels per day, in May 2025, excluding condensate. OPEC disclosed this in its 2025 monthly oil market data released on Monday. Nigeria's crude production output showed a slight increase of 1.44% from the 1.522 million barrels per day recorded in April 2025, OPEC noted, quoting secondary sources. While Nigeria's crude oil output surged by 1.44%, the data puts Nigeria's regional competitor Libya at 1.36 million barrels, Algeria at 920,000 barrels per day, and Congo at 268,000 barrels per day. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission's crude oil production figure announced recently indicated a decrease to 1,452 barrels of oil per day in May 2025. And now we'll go on a quick break, and when we're back, Business 360 continues looking at the different components of the markets from the commodity to the metal and agricultural market, and also global economic standings around the world. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. It is Business 360. And now we'll be looking at global economic standings around the world and the markets. First, we begin with seven African central banks with the largest gold reserves in the first quarter of 2025. Gold reserves act as a safeguard against currency volatility and help build investor confidence, a factor crucial in regions often exposed to external financial shocks. According to the World Gold Council, a gold's unique combination of safety, liquidity, and steady returns, the three key investment objectives for central banks, makes it a vital component of national reserves. Today, central bank collectively holds about one-fifth of all gold ever mined. Gold has reached several record highs this year, surpassing $3,500 per ounce in April as investors flocked to safe haven assets. According to a report by the European Central Bank, globally, central banks purchased over 1,000 tons of gold last year, twice the average of a previous decade. A global gold reserve held by central banks rose to 36,000 metric tons in 2024, nearing the all-time high of 38,000 tons recorded 60 years ago. For many African economies, gold reserves are a way to strengthen monetary sovereignty and reduce reliance on foreign currencies. Countries like South Sudan, Zimbabwe, and Nigeria are expanding their reserves, aligning with global trends seen in China and India. The World Gold Council survey further disclosed that around 20 central banks plan to increase gold holding this year. In Africa, our top reserve holders are often resource-rich or gold-producing nations. And now, the table here shows the seven African countries with the largest gold reserves as of first quarter 2025. And well, at number one, we see Algeria there, a whooping number in that regard for the gold reserve of whooping numbers there, increasing numbers. And we're talking about Libya, number two, number three, Egypt, number four, Ghana, Mauritius, number five, and Tunisia, number six, and then Kenya, number seven. As of the first quarter of 2024, Algeria's central bank holds the largest gold reserve in Africa with 173.56 tons, followed by Libya and Egypt with 146.65 and 128 tons, respectively. And these North African nations have historically maintained strong gold position as part of their monetary strategy. Ghana, the highest ranking sub-Saharan country, holds 31.01 tons, reflecting its role as one of Africa's top gold producers. Smaller economies like Mauritius, Tunisia, and Kenya hold more modest reserves, often for diversification and financial security rather than strategic stockpiling. Well, quickly, let's talk about Thailand as Thailand exports rise the most in over 3 years. Export from Thailand surged 18.4% year on year to a record high of 31.04 billion US dollars in May 2025 as factories rushed to ship goods following President Trump's announcement in April of a 90-day pause on plans to impose a 36% levy on Thai exports, with exports to the US jumping 35.1%. This marks the 11th consecutive month of export growth at the fastest pace since March 2022, a sharp acceleration from the 10.2% growth recorded in April, driven by agricultural and agro-industrial products. Exports of industrial products jumped by 22.9%, due mainly to higher sales of computers, rubber products, automobiles, equipment, and parts. Exports also grew to China 28% and the EU 16.6%, while falling to Japan a negative 0.9% and Asia a negative 0.3%. For the first 5 months of 2025, export rose by 14.9% year on year to 138.2 billion US dollars. And now to the market as gold ages lower. Gold aged lower to around $3,380 per ounce today, as a stronger dollar offsets safe haven demand amid escalating geopolitical tensions. The Iran Israel conflict entered its sixth day, with Israel's military confirming it had carried out strikes near Tehran and detected missile launches from Iran. At the same time, President Trump met with his national security team, fueling speculation that the US could join Israel's offensive and raising fears of a broader escalation. Elsewhere, a World Gold Council survey showed that 95% of central banks expect global gold reserves to rise over the next year, with a record 43% planning to increase their own holdings. And now to the markets. First, the metal market, and afterwards, the energy and agricultural markets. The metal market this morning. A metal market indicates the price of gold this morning at 3,380 US dollars per ounce, falling by 6.81 points, a negative 0.2% on a weekly basis. It had gained 0.77%. On a monthly basis, gold price went up 4.93%. Silver price has been a little here, a little there, getting 0.124 points this morning, 0.33% at 37 US dollars per ounce. Similarly, copper price at 4.8 US dollar per pound, gaining 1.05 points. Steel price at 2,953 Chinese yuan per ton, upward by 6 points. And now to the energy market. Energy market indicates the price of crude oil, US crude, at 74 US dollars per barrel, a downward by 0.743 points, and Brent, which represents Nigeria's price benchmark at 75 US dollars per barrel, falling by 0.783 points, a negative 1.02%. Natural gas also falling. Most of the energy commodities are on the decline. An agricultural market. Agricultural commodities are beginning with soybeans. Price level stands at 1,074 US dollars per bushel, upward by 0.04 points. On a reasonable change, percentage change, not a significant change. No change in the morning market on a weekly basis. Soybeans price had gained 2.24 points, and on a monthly basis, 2.21 percentage appreciation. While wheat price at 552 US dollars per bushel, gaining 3.91 points this morning. Lumber dropping by 2 points this morning. Palm oil at a price level of 4,112 Malaysian ringgit per ton, gaining 16 points this morning. And now to the financial market. First, looking at the performances of major currencies. FX update this morning. A top currency gainers are South Korean won, gaining 0.86%, Australian dollar gaining 0.39%, New Zealand dollar a 0.33 percentage gain, euro gaining 0.19%, and British pound a 0.08 percentage appreciation, and Japanese yen gaining 0.18%. The biggest losers are the dollar index, a negative 0.16%. And quickly, let's look at the market, the Euro USD market, and afterwards, we look at the state of the Naira and the cryptocurrency market, the Euro USD market. A Euro USD market indicates a price level of $1.15 to the euro gaining just slightly 0.23 percentage appreciation over the dollar, and the pound gaining 0.23% over the dollar at 1.34 point mark. The Australian dollar also gaining 0.41% over the dollar. The dollar seemed to be struggling this morning. Similarly, let's look at the US dollar against the naira. The naira depreciated against the dollar at official foreign exchange market on Tuesday. A US dollar against the naira price level stands at 1,545 naira to the dollar gaining 0.755 points over the naira. And looking at other currencies, the South African rand, 18 rand equaling $1, the dollar gaining 0.042 points over the rand, and the Zambian kwacha at 24 points against the US dollar, the dollar falling 0.22 points over the kwacha. Similarly, let's look at the cryptos. A Bitcoin price stands at 104,798 US dollars, gaining 193 points, while Ether at 2,527 US dollars, gaining 16 points this morning. Binance at 649 US dollars, gaining 1.1 point. Cardano, Solana ripples a little here, a little there. As we close, the Nigerian stock market lost 183 billion naira as blue chip slides yesterday. While the losses recorded, as said earlier, as bearish sentiment continued to weigh on the key market indicators, dragging several blue chip stocks into negative territory. We're wondering what could happen with the markets today after yesterday's fall. But it's been ups and downs in global market amid the war that's taking place between Iran and Israel, and many postulations going to day 6 of this battle, hoping that the war comes to a conclusion and probably we get stability in the market. But here we draw the curtain in today's edition of Business 360. Thank you for being a part of it. My name is Blyden Kim, and thank you for watching.